Hey, everyone.
Hey. How's
Welcome to
everybody
Happy
doing?
Hour. Cheers. Are we
Cheers,
drinking Four
cheers.
Roses? What do we
Yeah.
have there, Lamar?
Now, I'm actually drinking Heaven's Door. It's a wheaty bourbon.
So you're knocking.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I wasn't going for that, but yeah.
and everyone, Tony's going to join us momentarily.
Yes.
Everyone be nice to Heather. She's a little under the weather. She's under the Heather weather. All right. So we'll just sit here and be cool as we
Contemplate.
wait for our people to arrive. And Bob is not joining us tonight because it's just too emotional.
Yeah.
So
He's having to get squared away from last week.
yeah.
There's our man.
Hey Erica, how you doing, girl? Do you have 4 feet of snow in Savannah? Hi Suzanne. Hi Janelle. So Tony's joining us. I was just explaining Tony and Cheryl. Hey Sherry, home from vacation, and Jenny. Hi from Lexington. Dennis, Billy,
Hey Billy, how you
Susan,
doing, Billy?
Jeannie. And Jeannie's in beautiful Southern Illinois, Tony. And Jenny and Teresa, Ann, Ed in Grand Junction, Amanda in Quincy, Illinois. I was just saying that. And hey, Sue, happy birthday, Regina. Everybody
Hey,
raise
happy
a
birthday,
glass.
Regina.
Happy birthday.
Hey, Lori and Dory. Oh, that's so cute. You're right next to each other. And Roxanne and Jane. And Judy and Beth. Hey, girl. And Joe Penny. I was just explaining that Bob is so in his feelings right now that he said to us, guys, I don't think I can do happy hour. But he will be here next
He
week.
couldn't do 2 in a row, not with that. It was so overwhelming.
He's really overwhelmed,
Yeah.
which has been, there are a couple things that have taken me by surprise. Like when he goes, I just thought we were some lame radio show. I can't believe the audience cares. I'm like, buddy, where you been?
Yeah.
Where you been? Like, these are our people. This is the fam. And so Jane, it is. He's really emotional.
Yeah.
And I get that you miss him. You guys, it's a literal felony. I have to let the man go. I cannot detain him. He would have already retired, but he stayed for y'all and he stayed for us.
Yeah.
And I can't ask him to stay any longer. We have to let him go. And if you think it's hard for you, I need y'all to imagine like what I feel like. This has been my little nutty buddy my entire career. Now, I've also been with Tony my entire radio career and with Lamar my entire radio career. But I have spent more time looking at Bob Lacey's face
Than anybody.
than or anything else in the universe.
Yes.
You know, we should call the Guinness Book
Yeah.
I should get a record.
because maybe we can get you in there.
Yeah. I should yeah. Billy's like, it makes me cry, but he deserves it. Yeah. And I get it. Hey, Shannon from Eastover near Fort Liberty. I know we're related. Shannon's a Lynch. I know we're
Hey,
related.
Charlotte Bell.
So Tony's here tonight because you can ask Tony anything. This is an AMA with Tony. We've never
Let's not everybody jump at once. To
Yeah.
answer the question, okay. I'm
You
not ready for
guys-
the deluge.
we have never pulled our punches, and that's why I'm always in trouble. But I thought that it would be easier for Tony and he would have a milder heart attack if I let him answer the questions. Wendy, it has turned my hair white. It is. I was telling Lamar yesterday, we were working on Talking Lamar, and I have taken all of my feelings and just set them over to the side because it's about Bob and I want it to be about Bob. It's not about me. It's not about I'm sad and I'm boo-hooey and all of that. It's about Bob, and he deserves to have this. He deserves these accolades and all these flowers, and each and every one of you that has emailed or posted or left us a talkback message. It's just been the world. And we have some ideas for how we're going to save this stuff for him.
Thank you,
No.
JJ.
But yeah, so fire away. Tony will. Dennis Wicked did get 10 nominations. What? Fire away, and we will answer your question. Let me answer the first question. What is the show going to be called, Tony?
Please, please, please. Ladies and gentlemen, the show is going to be called, hold on, wait for it, because we put a lot of thought and we put a lot of effort into it. The show will be called Bob and Sheri.
I like it. It's got a snappy ring to it.
Plus, you don't have to change the stationery. That's good.
Yeah. So
we've made one change, and that Lamar, you probably know. And some of the folks on the chat here with us probably may have noticed it. We made one change to our logo in all the years we've been doing the show. You know what that is?
What?
We made the ampersand blue.
Yeah, we changed the color of the ampersand.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Because we started out red, and then we changed it to blue.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have said to me, but why call it Bob and Sheri if Bob's not there? Because his DNA is here. This is the Bob and Sheri show. Well, why not call it Lamar and Sheri? Well, we would call it Sheri and Lamar if we were going to change it because can a sister catch a break ever?
Yeah.
And then I had someone say, well, that's really going to hurt Lamar's feelings. Let me help you out here. Lamar is an incredibly deep, tender, and emotional man, but he don't get his feelings hurt over stupid crap like that.
No, because it would sound so stupid. It would. We spent 30-something years building a legacy name of Bob and Sheri, and just because Bob is no longer going to show up on a daily basis, it doesn't mean he never existed. He's always existed. And he will always exist. So why would you even think about that?
No. I mean, because everybody listening knows it as Bob and Sheri.
Yes.
We also have the other side of it, which is the radio industry.
Yes.
That we market to and have been marketing to for decades. And, changing it is, it's got equity.
It's a brand. It's a brand.
You don't change things. And, we all know, like, from other areas where people change the name of a product and all of a sudden it loses its steam.
Hey, how'd that new Coke thing work out?
Oh, new Coke.
New Coke. How was that? New Coke. Okay. New Coke. Okay. It still had Coke in the name, but they still changed it and it sucked and it didn't go anywhere. People don't go for that. No.
And two, we all built this. We all have been together. We built this show. Yeah. And there's not a chance in this world that I would strip Bob from it. He's going to be on in the vault and best ofs, and after he goes, he's going to go cold turkey a little bit and try to set some new routines and habits, and then he's going to join us periodically and pop
Also,
in.
Think about this. I appreciate anybody worried about my feelings, but when I first started calling the show, when they first invited me on the show, it was called Bob and Sheri. The whole time that I've been talking on this program, it's been Bob and Sheri. Just because I'm going to talk a little bit more, there's just no reason. I don't need that. I'm so excited to be here. What do I care? No, what do I care?
Yeah, we love him. And part of the way we love him is by keeping him in that way. Like, we're keeping his name on the show. We're keeping his voice on the show. Yeah. Here's a question for you, Tony, from Amanda. Is the show what you always thought it would end up being, or did you have a different vision in mind?
Wow, that's a good question. Yeah. That's because the show's evolved. When I came to the show, I was not living in the market where the show was, right? I was not living in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I heard tapes. And the minute someone said to me the show was from Charlotte, North Carolina, I had a completely different opinion or different thought about the show until I heard the tapes. And I thought this show could go out there. And because when we were, again, just to back up a little bit, we were the first show to be syndicated to adult contemporary stations that are, soft rock or whatever you want to call it. Adult contemporary is sort of an industry term. No one had ever done it before. And when I left my job in Connecticut to come down here, my boss said, wait a minute, you're leaving for a startup? And I'm like, yeah, because I think there's something here. there's certainly some twists and turns that it's taken. And we've had, Max and I always say this, we have never worked so hard and we've never laughed so hard.
Yeah.
And it's a joy. Is it different? Yeah, it's different. We're not broadcasting from New York City. I always hoped we would be able to get on a station and broadcast in New York City, but no. But it's been a hell of a run. I've made some great friends, great relationships, met some wonderful people, and we've had some fun. We've had some fun trips.
Yeah.
There's the episode of Talking Lamar that comes out this Friday is called Brown Liquor and Peanut M&Ms. And we just we talked about some of our travel because like
was that Air Bob and Sheri?
Yes, that was when we were on Air Bob and Sheri.
What we consider the good old days.
The very good, the very bestest of old days. So oh, Misty, Sheri, you recently told us a never before told story about Chit Chat on the Oddcast. Will there be more? Yes, there will. There are two stories that I thought I would never be able to tell. The first one is an Oddcast episode called Banned for Life. That's all I'm going to say. You're welcome. It's the Chit Chat story of all time. The second story that I thought I would never be able to tell is the real story of the car in the pool. And I am going to tell it. I'm going to tell it on our last day. None of us have any guilt or blood on our hands or anything.
Nope.
We are not the culprits. We have been protecting two people that aren't here. They're alive. They're just not here. We have been protecting them every step of the way. We've all been accused of being the culprit. My daughter, who was asleep in bed and in middle school, was accused of doing it. Bob was accused of doing it. I was accused of doing it. We took our beating like grown-ups, but I will tell that story, and I will name names, and that's a promise.
Can I just interject something here?
Yes.
That car in that pool brought me back from my hiatus.
Yeah. Can you talk about that, Tony?
If that car doesn't go, so
we're not together again. Yeah.
Right. So I left the company for a couple of years because I was kind of fed up with living in a place called greater mediocrity.
Yeah.
And so I left and I came out here. And we had my wife and I lived in Colorado back in the early 90s, and we fell in love with it. And that job ended. But we always said we'd always come back to Colorado. So I'm fed up with greater mediocrity, and I come out here to take this job. And then they promptly sell the company out from under me. So I made the decision that I was going to sort of be independent. And when the word got out that I was independent, I got a call from greater mediocrity. And they said, could we hire you to do the Bob and Sheri show once again? And I'm like, I guess I could. But
what happened to the person who was doing?
So the person who was doing what I used to do and now currently do was going to be put on a performance plan. So they, again, those of you who work in business know a performance plan means you got 90 days to shape up or something changes. And about a week after they told me that this was their plan, SUV in the drink. And so I get the note from our affiliate, from Bruce Biette, who runs our affiliate in the Bangor market, and now Augusta as well. And he sends me the picture of the car. And I'm like, what, do you have nothing to do but mess around with Photoshop? He's like, no, this really happened. They were talking about it this morning. And I was like, oh my God. So anyway, so I didn't catch it because I was 2 hours behind here. But yeah. So anyway, that's how I came back. At that point, I came back immediately. Although I'm the only person, I think, who hasn't been accused of putting the car in the pool.
You're the only one with a plausible alibi.
Yeah.
I haven't been with the show, and I've been accused of doing it.
Yeah. Lamar was loading beer trucks.
Yeah, I was on a forklift
83 miles away, and he was well, you know how Lamar drives. He's 983 miles away. Like
But had Lamar known that the car was heading for the pool, the way he drives, he would have made it before the thing hit the water.
Before the thing got the bottom.
Well,
Yeah.
if I was behind the wheel of the car, I would have gone fast enough to skim the water and come out on the other side. We wouldn't even be having T-shirts and shit. We just wouldn't have it. Okay. Yeah.
That's honestly true. I've seen Lamar drive that fast.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that is, I told the Band for Life story, which Tony and I thought we would never be able to tell. I told that on an oddcast. Max and I could hardly breathe when we were doing that oddcast. We were on the floor
Oh my
crying, laughing.
God.
And so the last story that I am holding on to is the pool, the car in the pool. And it's going to be a little bit anticlimactic when you get the truth. Because when I tell you the story, you're going to go, of course that's what happened. But that's for the imminent day, that comes. None know the hour or the time.
And I hope it's many years from now.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many years.
So we had a question also, Tony, about the Book of Bob, when it will be back in stock.
So the Book of Bob, the expanded edition,
That Bob doesn't know about. It's a
that
surprise.
Bob doesn't know about. It's the post-pandemic edition of the Book of Bob. It's on its way to the printer now, and I'm just gonna guesstimate 3 to 4 weeks, and then I'll have them in the office, and I can start shipping them out.
Yeah. We're doing, I mean, my gosh, we're going as fast as we can. Bob, so I'll answer a question that I've been asked but not here, and that is, when did Bob know? When did we know? Well, I knew. Bob and I have been having weepy, like literally crying on the phone conversations about this for a while now, because it was a really hard decision for him to make, and the decision to keep the show going was also a hard decision to make. So I've known for a while that it was coming, but so have all of you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to work until you drop dead? Like, he's got this beautiful wife and he's got grandkids now. Do you think that it's fair to ask him to work till he drops dead? So what we didn't know was the when. And so for the past couple of years, it's been over here kind of hovering. We broke up for the Christmas holidays, not knowing that the announcement was coming. Bob didn't know the announcement was coming. But you know what? You sit around the Christmas tree with a glass of wine and your wife, and there's no alarm clock, and there's no pressure, and there's no deadline. And tomorrow is however you're going to fill it. And I think for Bob, it just all came together in that moment. And he was like, now. And he called me. And I was like, oh no, I can't, bad connection. I can't hear you. And the night before, he made the announcement on Monday, January 13th. And we knew the night before, January 12th. So we heard it when you heard it. And although I've known, Bob is a lot older than I am, and although I've known that from a math standpoint, he'd get to that finish line well ahead of me, there was a part of me that thought, well, we'll both get fired and sent to prison, or he'll change his mind and who will die at the mic. So knowing that something is coming and being ready for the reality, two different things. But y'all, we have never jerked you around. We found out when you found out. And thank you, Desiree, who's been listening to the show on the Cat since we began airing and has loved every episode and is wishing Bob all the best in retirement. Ooh, thank you. Thank you to all of our Cat listeners. We have made so many memories in the Hudson Valley. Lamar and I were talking about it today.
Yeah,
we were. Many memories. So many people that I call friend. So many just incredible moments in my life spent with y'all in the Hudson Valley.
Beautiful place, too. Beautiful place.
Melissa would like to know, where is Bob tonight? It's too emotional. He can't. Sorry, y'all. He can't.
He's overwhelmed from last week. That was a lot for him. It was a lot. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. Sandra Denise, very happy for Bob. Glad he gave us a heads up instead of just disappearing. Tony, would you like to tell everybody about that one? because he wanted to just disappear.
He wanted to disappear.
He was
wanted
afraid
to
of this.
Have it be his last show would be his last show, and that would be it. And I think all of us have been disappointed to either turn on the radio and hear something different than what you expected on Monday morning after you were listening to something on Friday, or you turn on the TV and your show's gone and no one tells you why. And unfortunately, we are in an industry where we tend to do that in the radio industry because we're worried about people going off the reservation, so to speak, and saying stuff on the air while they're in their notice period or whatever. And so typically what we do is we call you in the office after your show and we say, well, this was your last show. Thank you so much. Here's the severance check if you're even getting one. And over there is a security guy, and he's going to help you pack your desk and take it out. Right? That's the way it goes. And I'm sorry, this is a low rung of show business, but it's show business, and that's what they do. Because one or two people have gone a little bit crazy and have said things, and they've insulted their bosses and thrown their employers under the bus on that last day. But I'm here to tell you that most of us don't. Most of us are responsible individuals and don't do
grown-ups.
Right?
You got to walk out of the place knowing that you could walk back in if you wanted to.
Exactly, because you never know, right? You never know.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do is not do that to you, not do that to our affiliates, not do that to our advertising partners, and give Bob a chance to do what he deserves, because I don't think Bob realizes how much y'all love him.
He didn't.
And
he didn't. He does now.
We needed him to take a victory lap.
Yes.
It's not like, like the certain TV shows that just end, like the Cosby Show just ended and they walked off into this audience, or some of the shows on cable that they just end the show, like a Sopranos.
The Sopranos. It just goes to
black. 6 feet under. They kill everybody.
Oh my God, Deadwood. They never did the fourth season. HBO was like, fuck this.
Right. Yeah. They were just like, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we don't want to treat people that way. And because we don't like being treated that way.
I have to tell you guys. So I'm on the phone with Bob and he's apologizing to me. I was like, first of all, stop it. We've had this conversation. I love you. I want you to be happy. It's going to be okay. You're allowed to do this. And then he was like, so what I'm thinking is on Friday in the last break, I'll say goodbye. And I was like, is that what you're thinking? Because that's not how it's going to be. And he's like, what? Now, you guys have to understand how weird my life is. I have literally been bossing that man around my entire adult life. And so I forget that not every man I know needs me to tell him how to chew his food and zip his pants and show up on time. Poor Tony gets it from me all the time. Poor Lamar is now getting a taste of, Lamar, you're going to chew that before you swallow it? Like
it's not that hard for me because I got one at the house doing it right now. So I'm okay. So I was like, Bob Lacey, that is not what's going to happen. What do you mean? That's what I want to happen. I'm like, you're not doing that to these people. You're not just going to leave. No. You need to sit still and let people love you a little bit.
And you need to Cher, can I address Michelle McAnallen's
jump in.
comment here? Michelle, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name McAnallen. She made a comment about the industry and about the listeners. And look, we've always been a show that is listener first. It's why we're independent and we do what we do. But you also have to understand that the radio stations are the gatekeepers. And you don't get to hear a show if a radio station doesn't play our show.
Yeah.
And now there's podcasting and whatnot. But in general, and at the very beginning, the only way you could find Bob and Sheri was to find it on a radio station in your town or near your town. And so as much as we love you guys, and you're important, the gatekeepers are too. Because if they say no, if a station decides they're going to go in another direction, because of a new ownership, because of a new format, or even because Bob Lacey retired.
And some of them are going to do that.
And some are going to do that. So um, I wish it were different. I wish it were more. I don't know. I don't even know what the right word is. I wish it were different so that we didn't have to sort of serve two sides, right? But the truth is that if we're not put on a radio station, or as we use in the industry that we use the term cleared, if we're not cleared in a town, then you don't hear us. You never get to know who Bob and Sheri are.
Yeah.
And we can only, without our radio partners, we're out of business. I mean, that's just the simple fact. That said, I just knew that Bob couldn't just leave. He had to give people a chance to process that. I mean, the thing about radio is, like, some of y'all take showers with us, and like we're in hospital rooms and labor and delivery suites. We've been on crime scenes and on drives to funerals. It's intimate. We know you. Like, I'm looking at the people at you tonight. I know so much about each and every one of you, and I'm paying so much attention. And so is Bob and Lamar and Heather and Doc and Max and Tony. Bob can't just like leave. He had to say goodbye. And again, we're so grateful to all of you for loving on him, because he wasn't expecting that. I don't know why, but he just wasn't expecting that.
Don't you agree with me, Sheri, though? Bob is glad now.
I think he's glad now.
He's glad now that he's doing it this way. I think he thought he could just slide out and it would be a big deal. And I think it's great for him to understand that it is a big deal. And he's really feeling the feels. He really is.
He is.
From all the great messages. And last week on the show last week on Facebook Live, he was overwhelmed. He really was. And he's still overwhelmed this week.
So we're getting some questions about, okay, so what is going to happen? Well, Bob's last day will come and we'll all be a hot mess.
Yep.
And then Monday his last day is on a Friday, and then Monday will roll around. We're going to show up. We're going to do our show with you. And hopefully you're going to listen. And that's all we know, because life is so uncertain. Like, who knows anything, right? We're just really, this is our chance too, by the way, as Bob says goodbye. This is all of our chance to kind of pause and be in our feelings. And thank you for loving him, but thank you too for like this. And Lamar's dream has come true.
Yep, it has.
It doesn't matter how long it lasts. His dream came true. And Bob was a huge part of that. And you all have been a huge part of that. And here we are, all together in our places. And we know this is weird. We know this is hard. Tony, what would you say in terms of like what the future looks like? What can you predict, or what can you?
I mean, I think in general it's going to be okay. I saw some people who are a little worried here. I think it's going to be okay. I think that most of you who listen to us on the radio are going to continue to hear us on the radio. But I can't predict. I can tell you that there's probably going to be a couple, and we'll do what we can to let you guys know where we are and where we're not. And by the way, I do that in the newsletter every month.
Yeah.
If we have new affiliates coming on, I tell you who they are, where they are, and I give you even a little map so you can see if where you live falls under the footprint of the radio station.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
But we'll lose a couple. I apologize because my dog is barking in the background.
Somebody asked earlier, and I didn't want it. It was a good question. It's, what are you, Sheri, Lamar, what are you excited for? What shows are you excited to do?
We sort of talked about that. We sort of talked about the fact that
a little bit.
It's a challenge. I mean, this is a challenge to move forward. It is a challenge, but we're both looking forward to it. And the thing is, the good part is, it's not like Sheri and I have never met. or we've never talked to each other. And it's not like, I mean, years ago, if Bob had to go somewhere or whatever, I would go sub for Bob, and it would be me and Sheri. So we're good. Sheri and I are good. Now,
we've been family for a long time.
Yeah,
It's like people are shocked when we tell them, yeah, Lamar's been here about 20-some years.
But I want to get this out front. I'm not replacing Bob, because nobody can replace Bob. Those are shoes, those hokas. Nobody's filling those hokas, okay? It's not going to happen. But I'm going to do the very best I can to keep y'all entertained along with Sheri, and a little grace would be nice, and I appreciate that. Give me a shot. But I think we're going to be fine. I mean,
Lamar, I've ordered you an entire wardrobe from J. Crew, so I think you're going to be all right.
So if you've been listening from the beginning, and a lot of you have, you already know that this show has changed a lot and evolved a bunch. Some of those changes and evolutions, I'll be honest, were forced upon us just by the realities of the world and the business. And some of them we really wanted and initiated. I'm a survivor, and I'm a worker, and I'm an optimistic person. And I love my people. I love all of y'all. I love my crew. I'm crazy about the people I work with. And so, as heartbroken as I am, I'm super psyched to see some opportunities come up for like Max and Doc, for example.
yeah.
If you listen to True Weird Stuff, you know that Max does speak. And he's a really brilliant, thoughtful, wonderful, quirky person. And we're hoping that he'll feel more empowered or emboldened or whatever to come forward. Because Max is always like, it's the Bob and Sheri show, and I'm not Bob and Sheri. And we never muzzled anybody, but Tony will tell you that whether it's on the air or off the air, it's very hard to come between me and Bob.
Yeah.
If we're at your house for dinner, there's no mistaking that Bob and Sheri are at your house for dinner. Right, Tone?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we kind of
Sheri.
have always, I mean, Lamar,
Yeah.
We don't mean to, but we come into the room and the two of us are like bad, delinquent 12-year-olds. Like there's just no oxygen left.
Yeah.
And so that's going to change. Lamar is so funny and talented and gifted. Bob and I have been cheerleading for Lamar for so long. How thrilled were we to be able to like help him make this dream come true? I want to get out of his way and let him grow and develop as a performer. Doc is such a storyteller, and he's shy and bashful. Doc will never jump in, but if you open the door and invite him, he's amazing. So let's see what happens. We're working on some technology. It's been very difficult. Like we can talk to people, but it's a hot mess. And so we're working on we're working on some technological innovations that will allow us to pull more callers in. So what are we excited about? I love a challenge.
Yeah.
Like the unknown does not scare me. Miracle Whip scares me. The return of stirrup pants scares me.
Miracle Whip should not exist.
Yeah, Miracle Whip is of the devil. It's an abomination in his eyes, as we all know. That doesn't scare me. I'm grieving because my friend who I play with every day has to take his toys and go home, y'all. I'm grieving my friend, but I got my other friends. So Lamar, how about you when you think about, you've got the biggest job here, I think.
Yeah. And we talked about this a little bit the other day. And I think we talked about it on the podcast. My thing is when I came on full time, which was the dream of all dreams, I don't think I can explain to anybody how exciting it was to leave to retire from my job, which I loved. Great. They were super, super great to me. But to do this, like I say, I've been auditioning for this for close to 30 years. The show's been on for 32, and I think I started calling around 30 years ago, 29 or 30 years ago. I've been auditioning for this forever. Never really thought it would, happen. But yeah, so this is a dream come true for me. So I'll tell you this. If I screw this up, it's not because I ain't trying. Trust me, it's not because I'm not trying. And I told Bob the other day, we talked about this, and for all these years that I've been doing this, I've paid close attention to Bob, because why would you not? He is a legend. He's been doing this. Listen, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. And I've learned so much from him. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. So, but I'm very excited. I'm nervous. Don't get me wrong. I told Sheri the other day, I'm a little scared, because even though I've been full time and this has been great, Bob's been right here. I've said this in my head because I'm in my office. In my head, Sheri's to the left, Bob's to the right. I don't know why that is, but that's what's in my head. And so it's very comforting, because when we're doing this, Bob's to the right. Well, in a week or so, Bob's not going to be to the right. So I'm a little nervous about that. I really am, because he's like he's a guarantee. He's a guarantee. That's the good part for somebody like me. I've been able to come on the show and do a lot of different things, because at no time, even when I was calling on the phone and all the crazy stuff, at no time has anybody ever left me hanging. If something I was doing wasn't going in the right direction, I could depend on either Sheri or Bob or Max or somebody to throw the lifeline out and save it. And so I've never had to work without a net. Okay. There's always a net here for all of us, because none of us will leave somebody hanging. And there's such a comfort in that. I mean, but I'm excited about it. A little scared, but I'm excited. I really am.
You know what's hard to explain, but Lamar and Tony know, because we've all been together for so long. It would be one thing if Bob was just my coworker, right?
Yeah.
That's a hard thing. It's different. Change is always difficult. But you cannot imagine what a two-headed monster Bob and I have been for so long. Like, people that we worked with used to be like, they're in the parking lot standing there talking. Are they not sick of each other? And we never were. There was this one time when Bob's kids were very little. Their mom had taken them to visit their grandparents in Tennessee. And Bob had a bad allergic reaction to something that he ate, and his face puffed up like a blowfish. We've never told this story on the air. So Bob called me, and he was like, Sheri, I'm a hideous monster. My face is like a blowfish. And I was like, back that up. Like, what? And he explained, he said, I don't know what happened. Like, I can't go out in public. I look like a hideous monster. He was so upset. And so I was like, well, he's probably being dramatic. He does not look like a hideous monster. So I said, how about if I pick up some, because I knew he was home alone. How about if I pick up some takeout and I'll come over and we'll have dinner, and you can't look at me. I'm hideous. I'll come over and I won't look directly at you, and we'll have dinner that way. Because he was alone for like a week. So he's okay. What takeout are you bringing? Well, I'll get Portofino if that'll get the door opened. Okay, so I go get the Portofino. True story. He calls me. I'm in the car. I'm on the way over there. I've got his spaghetti with red clam sauce. And he goes, listen, don't come to the front door. Come around back. So, okay. Now I'm thinking, is this man making dogs cry? Like, what is going on with his face? So I pull up into his driveway, and I go around back, and he pulls the window open. Come in here. You're so disfigured, I have to come through a window? I can't even come through. So I climb in the window with the bag of takeout, and sure enough, his face was, I've never seen anything like it. It was bright red. It was all puffy. He'd had this wicked bad, like a Hy-Vee allergic reaction. His eyes were like little tiny slits. And he's like, don't look at me. I'm a hideous monster. I'm like, it's fine. We closed the window, take out the bags out of the takeout. We ended up sitting there at the kitchen table. We drank a bottle of wine. We ate dinner. At one point, we were choking and sobbing. We were laughing so hard at nothing. At nothing. That's not the show. That was like life. And it was like that day in and day out for my whole adult life. So if you think the show is different and you're going to miss them, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. But Bob wanted us to keep going. And it was something we really wrestled with. Right, Tony? Like, we really wrestled with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a tough one. Tough decision.
How is Max feeling all about this? Tony, you want to take that?
I think Max, Mac, he feels the same way we do. I mean, he's been part of this team for decades, and he feels like we do, that he's going to miss Bob. But there's, it's time. It was time, and we're going to miss him. But I think Max is so creative, and so much of the sound of the Bob and Sheri show is Max.
Yes.
The music, the sound effects, the production.
He doesn't get the glory he deserves.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
Every time we're doing something and we're talking about something, and all of a sudden, just the right song within 3 seconds is playing, that's Max.
Yeah.
Always, he does such a great job. Such a great job.
Absolutely.
Erica Grafsky said something interesting. She said the focus on regular, mundane, but significant family life stuff is so unique. Yeah, like one of the things we've gotten a little bit knocked around with over the years in our industry is that we're not just talking about like Beyonce all the time. We do, right? I mean, we talk about, Hollywood and sports, especially, my Kansas City Chiefs, go Taylor's boyfriend. We talk about that stuff, but we really just talk about life, right? Like,
it's so funny. It's so funny. I had a doctor's appointment today to do like some sort of nerve study. So the guy says, well, what do you do for a living? And I said, and I hated to say this because I knew that it was, I said, well, I'm actually retired from my original job, and I'm a radio personality. He said, so what? And I told him it's a syndicated radio show. He goes, well, what kind of show? And I said, well, it's a show where we do our very best to be funny and for everybody to have a good time. I said, we don't do any kind of politics. But other than that, he goes, well, do you talk about sports? And I said, well, yeah. Well, do you talk about, and he was trying, and I said, you know what? I can't really explain it. I said, we talk about our lives and the people that listen to us. We talk about their lives. We talk about, I don't know, man, just keep working. I don't know how to explain it.
Imagine how hard it is for Tony.
Because everybody that's tuned in right now knows exactly what this show is about. They understand it 100%. But it's hard to describe to a stranger who has never heard it. I mean, it really is, because y'all are part of the family, so you understand what it is. And it's hard to describe it. It really, really is. You have to listen to it. I told him,
it's life and stuff. Yeah.
We used to describe it like this. It's a rolling cocktail party. I said, think about if you were at some friend's house and some of y'all were together and you were just sitting around having some cocktails and shooting the shit. He goes, oh, okay. I said, that's what it's like.
That's the show.
That's exactly what it's like. We're just sitting around shooting the shit. That's it. That's it.
You guys, I want to address Kat Kane's comment. She said she's really excited that we're going to try to pull in more live callers. I've missed the Bob and Sheri chat room. So 2 things I want to tell y'all. When we worked for Greater Mediocrity, they're out of business now. But when we worked for Greater Mediocrity, one day after the show, they sent in an out-of-town manager from Boston, where they were headquartered, to tell Bob and I that effective immediately, the Bob and Sheri chat room was done. it was killed. Greater Media had decided to kill it. And Bob and I were like, okay. All right. And the guy was like, so we're good, right? Like no more chat room. And Bob and I were like, we're good. We're great. The next day we came into work and we did the chat room. And we continued to do the chat room until Greater Media went out of business. And the moral of that story is, it is no wonder that Bob and I have not been beloved by every manager we've ever worked with. But we knew in our heart and soul that it was not time to kill the chat room. Let me tell you when the chat room went away. The chat room went away at exactly the same time that everybody here tonight started communicating via text message and stopped calling each other on the phone. We are bombarded and have been for years by text messages and talkbacks. People do not call, right? And it's not, Tony, I need you to jump in here because I feel like they think that it's like the kids are mad that I'm saying that the beach is closed.
No. So
tell them about phones and radio shows.
During my hiatus, right? During my hiatus, before I left, we used to get a call report every day. And it would tell us the number of calls that we received, and it was sorted by area codes. And it would be 10 or 15 pages of 8-point font, like just tiny. It just went on and on and on and on. And I come back to the show. Was it 3 years? I think I was gone, maybe 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the call report went down to like a page. Because during that period of time, everybody got a smartphone and everybody started texting. And so the volume of calls went down. And so you can't do a call-in segment if you don't have a ton of calls. And by the way, that's true. It's not just a Bob and Sheri thing. That's
everywhere.
True everywhere. That's true.
At the exact same time that the call report did that, the digital email text exploded. And the number of people who tell us, all of us, oh, I want to, I want you to tell my story. I don't want to do that. People will DM me, like, you're going to hear this on the show next week. I'm saving it for next week, for Bob's last week. One of our listeners in Oregon sent me the most amazing email about Bob. And it's so wonderful that I set it aside. I'm like, I'm saving this for the last week. So I'm like, would you like to come? No, I don't want to do that. You do it. I don't want to be on the road. I don't like my voice you guys were.
It's a social. I think it's a social change. I was talking to somebody the other day, and most of us, who are here, can remember dialing the TV set to find out who shot JR.
Oh yeah.
I was in college when that happened, and I worked in a newsroom, and that was the lead story on the RKO radio network news that whole evening. Once it was revealed that Kristen shot JR.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's like, how far are you along in Succession? Yeah. Have you gotten to? I haven't gotten to that yet because I'm watching Squid Game. Right.
Yeah.
It's a different thing where
too much happening.
Right. There's too much happening. There's too many different options and there's too many ways to do it. I think it's great that we have the technology that allows us to watch things on demand and not have to be at the TV set at 8/7 Central to see the new episode of Dallas or whatever it happened to be, at the time. But it's also a different we behave differently as a result of that. And those audiences are not the same. You think about some of those things, like the last episode of the TV series MASH. It had like 70 million people watching it at the same time. Super Bowl.
Those days are gone, unless it's the Super Bowl.
So let me tell the story. I was a big Dallas. I watched Dallas. Oh my gosh. So on a Friday, I go out to eat at one of my favorite fine dining restaurants back then, the Red Lobster. So we were a little bit late getting seated. So I'm sitting there. And so the girl comes and she takes our order. And I'm looking at the watch. And so I know what time Dallas comes on. I know what time it is. And I'm calculating that there's no way we can sit here and enjoy our meal and still be home in time to watch Dallas. This is before VCRs. This was crazy. Okay. And so finally, she came over and she said, "Can I get you some more tea?" I said, "Listen, here's what I need you to do. I need you to put every bit of that in styrofoam. Give me the check. Let me pay right now because we have to go. Because we're not missing that show. We were not missing. Because if you missed it, then what do? There's nothing to do. The VCR was a game changer, but that was not available at that time. And I left I took my food to go. And fish to go sucks. You cannot take seafood to go.
No.
It sucks.
It doesn't hold up.
But that's what it was like then. That's what it was like then.
It was so, as a society, we've changed. And I think, the one thing I will say is that some of those chat room calls, I'm never going to forget ever. I'll take them to my grave.
Yeah,
right?
y'all, you think that we don't want to just sit there on our booties while people tell us the most insane things? They still tell us those things. They text them. They don't want to talk.
Yeah.
And the world has changed. You guys, the world has changed. And the show is going to change.
I didn't catch who it was, but they had a good point. Had it not been for the chat room situation, I wouldn't even be sitting here, because that was where all the majority of my phone calling before I ever got on the show was the chat room, because I would win a prize every week or so. But more than that, once I started calling in, making fun of the chat room callers, it had not been for the chat room, I wouldn't even be sitting here. The chat room was big. It was big. It was huge.
I have to ask Donna Sims a question. She doesn't like the new format of the show, but it's the only station her work radio picks up. But Donna, you're here with us on Happy Hour. So one of two things is true. You are some kind of masochist, or there must be something here. Or are you being held against your will, Donna? Blink twice. The formatting of the show. You guys understand that we're a radio show nestled inside a radio industry, working with radio stations. As unbearable as Bob and I have been and continue to be, and as stubborn as we have been about changing things that we thought were not in the best interest of the show, we got to play ball. I don't know any other way to say it. We got to play ball. Here's a question for you, Tony, from Amanda. Was it always a priority to make the show into these almost bite-sized pieces that could be placed at any time or place and still be timeless?
No.
Mm-mm.
And the answer is no. But again, that goes back to the technology thing. So one of the first, back when we started the show, the only way you could distribute programming was live on satellite. And so that's how we delivered the show. And so the radio affiliates had to carry the show in its entirety live. Stations on the West Coast recorded the show in advance and then delayed it. But as the technology improved and as things changed for us in the radio industry, we discovered that we could efficiently deliver the show in segments as audio files. And what that would do is allow stations to play their own music, so that we weren't responsible for playing the music for the radio stations, and the radio stations weren't responsible for having to fit their music into the windows that the satellite gave them. And I'm sure you guys have seen situations where commercials overlap when you're watching a stream, you're watching a TV show. You get that overlap, or you get that last, it's like, call now. And then, then something else starts. And so doing that with songs, which are all different lengths, is really hard to do for the radio stations. And so by sending it to them in separate audio files, it doesn't now matter what music that radio station plays, as long as they want Bob and Sheri. It can be oldie, it could be top 40, it could be country. We actually have a couple country stations. It can be anything. And I think that's really helped us. Honestly, that's really helped us get more stations because they can control the music. So
something that I like, y'all know I'm super nerdy and I love like all the like behind, like I love all the details. Um, when we were carried on the satellite, it was because that was the only way to syndicate the show. The internet really was not, it was brand new and not really robust enough. Here's the thing with the satellite. Our show was carried on the same satellite as like HBO.
One second. First, sorry, don't mean to interrupt. We're not going to be bullying Donna.
Oh no, Donna was the format of the radio station. No, Donna.
It was a
nobody bullied Donna.
misunderstanding. So please, no matter what a person comes in here and says, don't take it upon yourselves to go talk smack.
Donna is upset about a music change, not about the show. Do not bully
even
Donna.
Even if somebody was upset about the show, don't take it upon yourselves to go bully them. I will ban you. Don't make me ban you. I don't want to be that guy. Thanks.
But you can be that guy.
I will be that guy.
Heather will bully you privately. Okay, we will not bully you on this public stream. So the show, we were on the same satellite as HBO. It was extraordinarily expensive. It was such cool technology. We had a transmitting dish. We would talk. Our voices would be shot up into outer space, ricochet off the satellite, shoot down to Colorado, be picked up by a receiving station in Colorado. The signal will be amplified and then shot out to all of our affiliate stations. Oh my gosh, like a nerdy dream. It cost so much money that I can't believe Tony has hair. There wasn't a day where Tony wasn't like, Godmother, satellite is so expensive. And the satellite had what we call hard closures, meaning if we screwed up at all and were late or early throwing to a commercial break, we sent radio stations all over America into chaos. So it was costing a fortune. Tony was going bald from pulling his hair out. Bob and I were hot messes of undisciplined train wreckery. It was a godsend when we were able to let go of that.
And we had to jump through some technical hoops. We had a system in place where if these guys didn't stop talking at a certain point, it just cut them off.
It was so bad. We were so bad. We were such children.
The radio stations, and you'd have weather issues. If somebody had a really bad storm, some of you who have had DirecTV in the past know it's called rain fade, and you see the picture pixelate on your TV. What that does to audio is what that does to audio.
And let me just piss the flat earthers off to no end right now, Tony. I don't know what it is about the flat earthers. They're obsessed with me. They're constantly stalking me. But hey, flat earthers, heads up. We had a station in Hawaii. We were so excited. Oh my God, we're on the air in Hawaii. But they had to cancel after about 30 days because the curvature of the earth was such that the satellite shooting the signal from Colorado was being confronted by the curvature of the earth, and it was like splattering a hot mess. Remember?
Yeah, they call that a low. The nerds call it a low shot.
Yeah,
right? So a low satellite shot, and yeah. And so this is a much better way to do it. With another show that I worked on before, Bob and Sheri, we had an affiliate that their satellite dish pointed toward a microwave tower for the phone company. And it wasn't a primary, it was a secondary tower. And every holiday weekend, they would lose their satellite reception because people would be calling mom for Mother's Day and Easter. So every time it was a holiday, they would fire up that backup microwave and it would bollocks up the satellite transmission or the reception. So
you guys, like, it's been such a crazy ride.
Thank God for digital. God for digital.
A question that hasn't been asked is, okay, well, if you deliver it via internet, well, the show is on in multiple time zones and it's carried worldwide on Armed Forces Radio. So 6 a.m. in New York is not the same as 6 a.m. in Oregon, right? But also, you know how like your internet will buffer? The rainbow wheel of death?
Yeah.
That happens to everybody everywhere. And so we have to deliver the show this way. We have to work a little bit ahead of the clock in order to not have that buffering issue. So there's no way that I'm ever going to lie or bullshit you. I'll answer your questions, but I can't kidnap Bob Lacey. I can't make people want to talk on the phone. A bunch of y'all in the stream tonight are like, oh my God, I hate talking on the phone. Thank you. I can't change the world that is round and not flat. we can't change any of that. Our job has been to try to adapt. You know, happy hour is a version of adaptation. During COVID, it was so clear to us the first month of lockdowns that everybody was lonely and sad. And so Bob and I said to Tony, what if we had drinks with everybody one night just so that people feel like they're not so shut in? And here we are almost 5 years later. So some changes are hard and some are surprising. And nothing ever stays the same. And for everyone telling me that the show is going to be different, it is. But I'm on my third husband. And let me tell you what, you'd be surprised what you can get used to. When okay, I'm just saying that sometimes change is delicious and you just don't know it until you get there. But you will never tune into the Bob and Sheri show. Not tomorrow, not any day, as long as we are on the air, and not feel that Bob is a part of that, because he is always going to be a part of that. And y'all need to give Lamar some love and some support and some grace. And if Lamar is doing something well, tell him. And if there's something he needs to do better, he wants you to tell him that.
Oh, I've had an ass kicking before. That's not a problem for me.
He likes it a little bit. I'm going to be honest. I think he's got that. I think he's got that country boy BDSM energy. So Tony, before we wrap up, we will be here next week for happy hour with Bob.
Yes.
That'll be Bob's last happy hour, not forever, but for a little while. And we need to let him have that, because y'all know Bob. His feelings are something he's not super comfortable with. And he doesn't want to sit and cry in front of everybody. So, Tony, what would you say to wrap us all up tonight?
I would say thanks for the questions. I would say thanks for the support of just reading all these messages that are scrolling past here. Thank all of you so much. A lot of you I know we've met personally, and I thank you for that. And we're going to keep on keeping on as long as you keep on listening.
That's right.
Yeah. So we love you. And tomorrow on the regular show, Lamar is going to review this brand new Noah Wiley show that's on Max called The Pit. So if you were an ER fan,
you will love this.
You're going to love this. I have seen so many awesome reviews. So that'll be on the regular show tomorrow. And then we're just cracking the whip and working Bob like a Georgia mule in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Until his last day. And thank you again for loving on him and making him feel like, his life added up to something, because he wasn't so sure about that. And you guys have shown him that he was wrong. And I love telling Bob he's wrong. It makes me tingly all over. So love y'all. We'll see you back here next week. And we'll see you on the show tomorrow. Toodles. Good night. Cheers.
All right.